If you've been following my channel for even a few months, you'll know what this video is about. So I'm standing here in front of my well, and the YouTube trolls are vicious. I keep telling you that. And the thing is, I get people that tell me, oh, just ignore the trolls. I came here to watch your channel because you're, doing this or that. So when I complain about the trolls come out upset that I'm complaining about them. So they tell me to knock it off. It's funny. I actually don't want to get off too much of a story, but I know someone who was being trolled pretty hard. It was almost shut him down. So what he did was found out who the troll was. So this guy was kind of making, I guess, some videos or something. So he started following this guy all over the internet. His YouTube videos, Facebook, just everywhere. And he was trolling him with fictitious names. The guy got just violently mad, cussing and screaming apparently that he was, and so it ended up that he shut, the troll ended up shutting down all his social media platforms because he got so upset. So trolls are very sensitive to being trolled. But they don't care. The trolls don't care. They think they're righteous. They think what they're doing is correct. So when we say trolls, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're being mean on purpose. They truly believe what they're saying is the right point of view. When I was building this tiny house, I got called in several times. Well, probably the first year, not just with building a tiny house. I got called in once because people reported me for dumping sewage in the creek down there. Of course, the code guy came out, realized I wasn't. But when we built the tiny house, it really got pretty bad. Being reported all the time. The comment section just lit up with trolls. I mean, everybody knew how to build this better than I did. And the sad thing is they were right. I mean, obviously, the whole side of this building this house has fallen down now. It happened right after the first snow, but we're too poor to be able to fix it. So it's crushed them. As you can see here, the back porch roof flew off in the first windstorm. So that's missing. You may remember that it had this see-through ceiling thing, just a kind of a plastic material. You may remember that. And I had 2x6s running across there. But that just completely blew off, just like the troll said. First wind. Oh, and the first snow. I mean, people said that was going to crush down in the first snow, but the wind took it before the snow got to it. But yeah, we had I think it was less than an inch of snow, and it only lasted for a couple hours. Sticking to the ground, it warmed up, and that thing just crushed, just like they said it would. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but they just will not give up. Once they have a thought in their head, they know they are right. The wood stove had a damper on it. One guy said, I will pay you to buy a damper, even though the federal law says you cannot have a damper. If a contractor comes in and puts that wood stove in, they will not put a damper in it. It's against the law. But this guy insisted I had to have one. He says, I want to see the house fall down. I don't want to see it burn down because you're an idiot. So as you know, I get reported regularly about this well. The well was dug in the 60s and abandoned it was abandoned in the 70s is my guess. But I know for sure that it has not been used since the 90s. And the reason I know that is the guy who owned this place took the pump that came with it and used it on his pool. He said so. Took it in the 90s. So the pump became a pool pump. So that meant there was just a 6-inch hole in the ground with a piece of a concrete brick. I wish I had one here to just show you, that laid over on top of it. Yeah, I don't have here's one. Maybe that, no, that's not one. But you get the idea. It was just a little rock sitting on top of the hole. I don't know what it was supposed to keep out. So when it would rain hard, the water, it just flowed right down into that hole for years. What, 30 years? So then I come here and I shocked the well, put some bleach in it, put a well pump in it, cleaned it out, repaired it, put this house around it, concrete block around it. And I've been reporting that I think it's getting dirty. Well, yesterday I told you that it's not getting dirty. It's the aquifer. When it rains really hard, the aquifer gets cloudy. People in the area have tested it. It's perfectly fine. So I'm kind of relieved. I think what I've done has finally worked. At least the water isn't pouring down into the hole anymore. I've put a well packer in it. I've got this well liner in it. I've got a building over it, got concrete here. So even if the well were to collapse, the well casing, the metal thing, even if it were to collapse, which it may have by now, that this well liner will keep it from collapsing in on itself. So this well liner is going to give that well another 20, 30 years easy. Now, well, usually it'll last about, well, they say anywhere from 25 to 100 years. What happens is the sediment fills the well in, and so the well gets shallower over the years. And I think that's true. I think that's happened here. It's gotten shallow. But if I can get it to last 20 years, you know, that puts me up into my 70s. I'd be pretty satisfied with that, as long as it can last at the end of my life. But they insist, they absolutely insist. This guy who calls himself a code enforcement guy says that I have to fill this in with concrete and drill a new well. This thing needs to be condemned. He's called my code enforcement guy. I know I'm repeating myself from previous videos, but it's just a nonstop harassment. He's always in my comment section, and they just don't stop. So the other day I got a commenter, and I don't even know if it was the same guy. You know, they create all these new accounts, so you don't know who's who or what's what. But he insisted that this needs to be condemned. Well, I finally decided that I was going to look into it, see what's what. I mean, now the code enforcement guy's out here and says this is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with this well. If you're getting water out of it, that's great. So it's not near a septic tank. We don't even have a septic tank here. Well, we do, but it was built a long time ago. It's way down the hill, and we don't use it. But it's mostly caved in now, so it's not even really considered a septic tank. It's just some concrete blocks with a piece of pipe running down to it. So there's nothing contaminating this other than that groundwater I was telling you about. Well, we don't live near farms or anything like that. But like I said, I don't think I have a problem now. I don't think my well's getting dirty. So I called around trying to figure out, you know, what would I do to repair this well? Because last night I got a comment that says, you need to repair that well. It's going to collapse on you, and you're going to end up having to drill a new one in 10 years. Which is quite possible. You're absolutely right. I may have to drill a new well in 10 years. I won't. I will get water elsewhere. There's ways to get water around here. I've showed you natural springs and just different things. I can get water. I would figure it out. And it wouldn't be hard to do. Just get a little pump and I can pump water out of these natural springs. Well, even when I did, you know, that's a decision that we have made. I don't know if I'd want to invest that kind of money into this property because I don't know if it would actually raise the property value. But in the end, I called around to see what would happen. So he said I need to get this professionally repaired so it doesn't collapse. So I called the guy and I asked a few questions. The first question I said, got this old well, it's dug probably in the 60s. I feel like the sediment has filled it up. I said, I'm guessing the well was originally dug to 130 feet and now it's about 100 to 110 feet. So the sediment has filled it up. The well casing is cracked. I put a well packer in it and a new well liner, and I explained everything I did. What do I need to do to bring this up to modern conditions? Well, he said the first thing you're going to do is you're going to drill this well. So what they're going to do, stick a drill down in the hole and drill it deeper. That's the first thing they're going to do. Of course, they're going to bust all my work out. They'd take it all out. They'd drag out the old well liner, put a new well liner in it, and then hook up a new pump. And it wouldn't be I even asked, can I use my 110 pump? No, we wouldn't put a 110 pump in. They're not very reliable. We couldn't do that, which is fine as far as I'm doing it. If it's not very reliable, you know, they're $150 each. I can buy one every 10 years, but he's going to want to have some sort of guarantee that his stuff is going to work. That's what contractors do. They want to make sure the customers are pleased. So they would put in a 220 well pump. And then, of course, what do I got to have? I've got to have electric. My system isn't going to run a 220. I would have to have electric. Then they would put in a pressurized tank. Now, what they would do is modern day well. It would be underground. So you'd have a well cap, that's it. But all the piping would be underground. And it goes into a house. And the house has a pressure tank in it. That's what they would do, is put the pressure tank in the house. In the old days, they used to put the pressure tank right here inside the well house. This probably had a pressure tank around it somewhere back in the old days. But those froze, so they don't do that anymore. They take them in the house. So that means I got to build a bigger house because I don't have room to put a pressure tank. So a bigger house, got to hook up to electric so I can have a well remodeled. So how much is this going to cost? He said, well, since your well is 100 feet and you want to drill out 30 feet, he said, I think that's probably right, about 130 feet. He said, I would probably charge you around $5,000 to $6,000. Oh, well, I always thought that drilling a new well would cost around $5,000. So, I mean, we're right at the same price as a new well. And it's not even going to work the way I want it to work. I don't want a pressure tank. I don't want a bigger house. I don't want a 220 pump. So that means as soon as he left, I would end up ripping all that junk out of there and running it the way I want to run it. So I would have to invest more money into it. So then I asked him, well, what would it cost to drill a new well? And he says, well, it's anywhere from $3,000 to $13,000. It's the best I can tell you. He says, but I know your location, and we just drilled a well a year ago, down the hill from you. And we drilled that one, and I didn't write down what he said, but I'm going to guess probably 150 feet. I feel like that's what he said. So he said, and that cost $5,600. So you could guesstimate it's going to be around $5,600, $7,000, somewhere around there. So I can either replace this well for $5,600, $7,000, or get a new well for $7,000, $5,600, $7,000, and still not have what I want. I won't be able to use it. It would be a useless item to me. This is the problem I have with people who are righteous, people who know more than me or you. They know everything. And if you're not doing it per some regulation, then, now I'm not going to bring politics into it, but there is a big political component to this. And a lot of people will say, yeah, that's what liberals do. These aren't liberals that are doing this. There is one troll I got who gave me his name. I mean, my goodness, it was so easy to find him. So I go over to his Facebook page, and he watches Fox News, and he's got the flag, and he's talking about all the, things he hates about the left. So, no, it's everybody. Everybody is hateful in this world. Everybody is hateful. I know people think I need to relax my attitude when it comes to people. I've lived 52 years, and the only thing I've ever received from people is hurt. My entire life. Why do I want to continue to be hurt by people? By being nicer to people. People are the reason people suffer. When you live by yourself and you do things you want to do by yourself, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, No one would say anything about this. No one would care. The only time I'm harassed by government agencies is when conservatives call the government. Wait a minute. I thought you were conservative. You don't like government. Oh no, you got to have government when you're building a house. Oh no, you got to have government when you're building a well tank or a well pump. Oh no, you got to have government. Well, then you're not a conservative. I'm not anti-government. I understand there is a need for government as long as they're doing their job correctly. But to report everybody for every little thing, that doesn't make you a conservative. It makes you a tattletale, little whiner. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about some interesting developments from a big YouTuber. So I hope I can inspire you to live minimalistically so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.